Well, you trigger me to think of some figures in my mind that back to the year 1925, anybody knows who is the biggest market leader in the motor business? Ford, right? Ford, yes. They occupy 60% of the market share in the world.
But you could only buy one color car. It was black and it was a Model T.
But then
you can have any color you like.
You mentioned about General Motors. In the 1960s, General Motors became the largest market owner, and they occupy 30% of the whole industry.
Yeah.
And then last year, who becomes the first leader? It's Toyota, who used the Drucker way, and they have 20% of the worldwide market share. So we don't know what will happen next year, but something we can anticipate is change. I want to dig a little bit deeper with the business sector, which you two represent. I don't want to throw too much question on Andrew about change, because the big elephant is hard to turn. What are the change you did, Royce, during or while we are actually still in the financial tsunami? Any change or any reaction you ever made in your company? Are your business affected?
Mm-hmm. We try to look at crisis as an opportunity. Instead of feeling panic, not knowing what to do, we actually flip it over. We took proactive actions. We were even more outgoing. We held seminars. We demonstrate to our clients that we are a partner. We try to add value to what they do. We try to offer some advice. So we did some concrete steps in terms of helping them to analyze the situation, coming up with a plan in terms of how to unleash potential, unlock the potential in the market. And as a result, we were seen as a thought leader. We were approached by media to ask for more comments during this challenging period. And also we have deepened our relationship with our business partners. And as a result, we do see some financial reward at the end. But in the beginning, it was not totally driven by financial purposes. It's about playing the role of a partner or a friend to a business organization when they are having a difficult time.
Okay, thank you. So the next question will be about crisis. So I want to throw out another statement from Drucker. That's from his book, Managing Nonprofit Organization. He said, fortunately or unfortunately, the one predictable thing in any organization is the crisis. That always comes, and that's when you do depend on the leader. The most important task of an organization's leader is to anticipate crisis. So in your sector, how do you anticipate crisis? And can you share a case again that if you succeed or fail to anticipate such a serious crisis? How about the government?
The government seems to be running from one crisis to another. But of course, there are two types of crises we face. Some of the crises you could more or less anticipate.
Yes.
For example, I give you an example, air disasters. Whenever there's a huge accident, air accident, there is something which is a crisis. Any sitting government, it will be a crisis. But these things, at least you could plan. You could sort of put in place the necessary structure, set aside the necessary resources. You could drill, you could train your people. Once you have an accident, for example, at your airport, you know what to do. You have the command structure, you have everything. So crisis that you can anticipate, we do a lot of risk management. We do a lot of planning. We do a lot of putting in place and setting aside of resources. The most difficult bit, of course, is crisis that you cannot anticipate. We have gone through quite a number over the last 10 years. People remembered we have SARS in 2003. When you are hit by something which you don't really know what it is, it's terrible. I was marginally involved, but then at the center of the government at the time, to start off is very scary. You don't know what you are dealing with. And the sort of the medical evidence coming in, the information is not complete at the time. So, but decisions cannot be postponed. You cannot wait until you have the perfect sets of information before you take action. So in a way, we learn from all these is that for leaders, you still have to be able to act, even though you might not have the total information. And you have to have the flexibility to sort of change your decision or change the way you are handling the crisis as and when you gather more information. But to prepare colleagues to be able to handle crisis, you need to give them the opportunity and also equip them with the necessary skills is to make decisions on a very quick basis, on the information available, and yet have the capacity to adjust the decision as more information flows in. And of course, during a crisis, I think communication is a huge element. Communication, again, with those who are being affected. I think a lot of people will remember during the SARS period, the government organized press conferences each and every day at a very regular time. That is to keep the public and also to keep the whole team informed what is happening, so that everybody could be rallied against towards the same direction. That people know what they're, to the best of the information available at the time, know what they are facing up with. I think that is important.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, I would like you to continue to answer, and because you have one task that you are responsible, and that's about successor. You're managing a big team of civil servants. So how about successor? That's the question that Drucker raised that all leaders have to face with.
I think for any organization, succession planning is one of the most important tasks for any leaders. I think they should set aside sufficient amount of their time to look at and look for successes. In the government, of course, we have a very structured way of finding, identifying successes. And it's important because if you look at the Hong Kong civil service nowadays, in the next 15 years, we will have something like 40% of our staff retiring from the government. That is due to the expansion in government back in the 70s and in the 80s. So we have a very detailed structure where we sit down with our top senior management people, and we would review from the middle management onwards how they are preparing people for succession. And we have to identify people with potential early. We might at times need to fast track them up the career ladder. We also need to provide exposure training to them because somebody might have the potential to move on, but then you need to have the right people at the right place with the right quality at the right time. And having the right quality is very important. So we need to make sure that colleagues would know their whole spectrum of their business before they are being put up. And also, you need not only to look at those with potential, you also have to look after those with a little bit less potential, because one single person cannot operate one organization. So you need to rally even those who might not make it to the top, but you have to motivate them as well.